Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today I'd like to share with you a free pattern to make a little purse. Now this is a nice size for a purse. It has a long shoulder strap to it, but we could use it for a lunch bag or just storing some things. The fun thing is the bag is a ribbon bag. So it does have a pink ribbon around it. And this is perfect for October, which is Breast Cancer Month. So today I'd like to share this free pattern with you, and it is from ABQ Studios, or you could call it Among Brenda's Quilts. Now Brenda did make this bag, and she made it in thoughts of breast cancer. So it has this pink ribbon tied around it. That ribbon is stitched right in, so we don't have to worry about it falling apart. So the pink ribbon is great for the Breast Cancer Month. However, you could change the color of this bag and this built-in ribbon for whatever you would like. And there are so many different colors of awareness for ribbons that we can use. Now, I'm going to be making it in a pink version, and I do have all of my fabrics cut and ready to go. Now, I'm going to be using a fusible fleece, and that fusible is only on the one side. You could also use something a little bit firmer like the sewable foams. So I'm going to start with 6 2.5-inch strips, the width of the fabric, and I can just sew those together in any order that I would like. And then I'm going to take all of those seams and just press them in the one direction. We need to cut 2 pieces, 12.5 inches by 7 inches. And we are going to sew on each end a piece of fabric that 12.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And we're going to press the seams up to this larger piece. We get to work on those ribbon strips now. We have 2 long pieces of fabric. We will need to trim off the selvage, fold them in half so the right sides are touching. Be sure to back stitch here, and then sew all the way down. And we're going to do that to both the strips. Once these are stitched, we need to turn them right side out so we can fold that edge and stick something in. But I do have a homemade version of a tube turner, and it is going to involve a big straw. And these big straws you get when you buy bubble tea. They're just really big straws. So you're going to need a big straw and something that is going to fit through. Then you're going to take that bubble straw, make sure that it's a little bit shorter than whatever you are going to use. So you see it's just a little bit longer. If I was to use a pencil, I would have to cut it a little bit shorter. We're going to take that straw and put it in all the way to that stitched edge. Once you have it at the end, you're going to be able to take whatever tool it is and just push that fabric in between that tube. So give yourself a little bit to work with, and then just push it in. Give yourself a little bit more and push it in. And I'm going to do that until that other end comes from here. Now I'm going to be able to just pull that back, and when I come to the end, I'll have that fabric coming out of that little straw, and then I can finish taking it out. And while I'm there, I can take whatever in there and just poke out those ends. And then this is going to come out. We're going to be able to now take that and press both of those tubes flat. And then we're going to cut them into 3 different sizes. We need a piece that's going to be 12.5 inches, and that is going to need to be open on both ends. The one where the end is closed, we need that piece to go at 25 inches. And another one where the end is closed, we're going to need 19 inches. These strips are going to get sewn onto the bag. The 12.5 inch one with the 2 raw edges will go on one side. The other 2 will go on the front. So we're looking at leaving an inch space here, stitching that short one on the one side, and then stitch this one on. The inside of the bag is going to have 2 pockets. We're going to be able to make them both the same. Finish off that outside edge. It could be a zigzag or a serge stitch. And then working from the front side, we're going to fold down the top 2 inches and then stitch on each side and then flip that out, and that's going to give us a nice top. We're going to be able to do a row of stitching. So it's going to stitch that flap down and it's going to have a nice look there. And then press some seam allowance along those edges. We're going to be able to stitch those pockets right onto the bag lining at this point. We're going to go down 2.5 inches, center this, stitch around the outside, and 1 line in the middle. Be sure the finished edge is up at the top, and do that to both of the linings. We now can take the front and the back and fuse it onto our fleece. And we want the 2 pieces to be the same size. Then we are going to take the lining and make sure we have that opening of the pocket to the top of the bag. Stitch around the 3 sides, leaving an opening along the bottom. And just do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to do this to both sides. So we have that little opening there. And in the top 2 corners, we need to draw a box at 1.25 inches. And we're going to cut that box out. So those are at the top corner, not the bottom. Now we're going to be able to turn that right side out, baste that bottom closed, and just baste those edges together. So it is going to look like this with just that little stitching there and that bottom closed. This method is a great method for making bags. We have that front and the lining already complete and done. And that means those side seams are also going to be finished. Now we will need to put the zipper on. I do have a zipper that's larger, and that really does make it easy to work with. So I just need to stitch that zipper down. The nice thing about doing a zipper this way, we do not need a zipper foot. We just need a 1/4 inch foot. So we do have that little lip open on each side. But when we turn it over, that zipper is stitched down. We do want to make sure that those edges match. The strap is going to be made with 4 pieces. We have a little accent piece, 1 inch, 1 inch fusible fleece, a piece of gross grain ribbon, and this is going to give the bag that handle some security. And then that accent piece, and this is 2.5 inches. They will go together in this layer. The first thing we're going to do is fuse that fleece onto that 1 piece. Then on the back side of this fleece, we're going to pin that ribbon. We're going to pin it from the top side. So this is what we're looking at. Place this down and then reposition these pins. So these pieces are going to be all together. And to hold them together, I would recommend basting a big fat stitch all the way down to hold those layers together. Now we are going to just roll this bottom fabric up to the top. The first layer is going to go right to that edge. So then that fold is going to come right up and over. So when we do both sides, we're going to have that little green strap poking through. So I would recommend pressing this first and then going to the machine and bringing it up and around. I can take that basting out. We can press that and trim it to a 40-inch length. We now can finish the bag. We're going to place those right sides together, draw 1.5 inch square in these corners, and then we're going to stitch from here and along the sides. We do need to remember to have that zipper open. For myself, I do like to do this side seam first. I'm going to back stitch, stitch down, stop where I have this mark, and back stitch. I'm going to leave that bottom open and press my sides before I do that bottom piece. Once I undo that zipper, I have this round tube, I have a pressing bar, and I can press this open. It's just easier to do before you do that bottom. Now I'm going to finish stitching between these marks. Back stitching on each end and then trim off those little squares. Match up those edges, opening up that little square, and stitch a 1/4 inch. Do that to both sides. we do need to finish off this edge, and we do have some fabric left over from the ribbon that we can cover those seams. Or if you'd like, you can get some matching fabric and just make some little strips to cover those ends. To finish that strap, we're going to take that right side and match it right along that edge. So those edges are going to match, and we're going to do the other side the same. So there's going to be no twisting that strap. They're just both going to match along that top. We are now going to turn this bag, so we're going to look at the lining. But I would recommend just doing a little row of stitching to hold those straps down so we can remove the pins. Turn the bag so we see the lining, and that handle is all tucked inside. And then on this edge, we're going to do the same as we did the bottom. That bottom seam is going to match the zipper seam. We will be able to stitch here and then finish it off with that little piece of fabric. Now we are going to be able to stitch over this zipper. So just go slowly and do a couple of rows to really secure that. And don't worry about trimming that zipper off. It's going to be fine. We need to repeat this for the side where that zipper is opened. I like to just baste those edges together and then fold and match. That basting will just be trimmed off. Stitch, finish the edge, and we're done. I did use the matching fabric to finish off the bag, and look how nice this inside looks. And the outside is just as cute. I can give it a little tie, and the bag is now done. It's a nice size bag. It would be great for a lunch bag, a bag that we want to carry around, or just keeping some fun supplies in. The fun part is we could customize the ribbon for whatever we want that ribbon to say. I'll put some links in the description so that you can check out that shop, and perhaps you'd like to make one for yourself. Thank you for joining me today on So Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a newsletter. It's all free under So Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a spectacular day. Bye for now.